friends and second graders all over the world. Welcome to the next episode of AHA with Graham Riley. Today we are going to be learning about the fabulous baseball player Jackie Robinson. Did you know that if you're really good at baseball, you could play in the major leagues? But a long time ago, it wasn't that way. Only if you were white, you could play in the major leagues. In the first half of the last century, since African Americans couldn't play in baseball's major leagues, they played in their own leagues. They were called the Negro Leagues. My grandpa is an expert on the Negro Leagues. He's been on lots of the sports talk radio shows and television programs on ESPN and other sports networks, and written a lot of books on the topic. Here's his latest book. It's called Of Monarchs and Black Barons. It's dedicated to me and my sister and my cousins. For Andy and Mar, Graham and Delaney. His grandchildren are the dessert of the feast of life. He even wrote a rap song about it that was recorded by a hip-hop group. Jackie Robinson was the first player that crossed over from the Negro Leagues and played in the majors. If he was still alive, he would have been 94 a couple of weeks ago. Google celebrated that date with a Jackie Robinson Google Doodle, and there's a grown-up movie coming out in a few months about it. Here's something else. My grandpa lives in Atlanta, so it's time for a road trip. I'm going to ask him what he knows about Jackie Robinson, and if he knows anything that might not be in a textbook. And there's one. And oh, by the way, my grandfather's name is James Riley.
And it's my grandpa too.
That was my extremely funny sister who's hiding under the table. Come on. Come on.
You're funny.
This is my grandpa's house. This is where me and him are going to talk about Jackie Robinson and see if we can get a lot of interesting facts about him.
Hey Graham.
Hi.
How are you today?
Hi.
You want to talk some about Jackie Robinson?
Yeah.
Let's go have a chat about it.
Who was Jackie Robinson?
Well, Jackie Robinson was an outstanding baseball player, football player, basketball player, and track star who became the first black player to play in the major leagues in 1947 when I was in the second grade. That's when first year he played. And up until that time, there were two separate major leagues, one for the black ball players and one for the white ball players. But when Jackie played that year and made good, then the teams started signing lots of black players, and now we just have the one league with all players playing together.
Did you know Jackie Robinson or any other Negro League baseball players personally?
I never met Jackie personally. I did meet his wife, but I have met many former Negro League players, ones who'd played with and against Jackie, and some of them were good friends of mine, and they talked about when he was first signed. They were surprised that Jackie was selected as the first player because there were other players in the league who had been there a long time and were probably better ball players. But the thing that Jackie had that they didn't was that he had played against white ball players and with white ball players before in several different sports, and he was well educated and he understood the importance of what he was doing. So he was the best choice for that reason. These players actually played against Jackie, some of them, and they were wondering if he would be good enough because he was so young. And they had a lot of experienced veteran ball players that they thought could go in and do good first day out. But then Jackie proved that he could do the job, and he was just a rookie and still was one of the best players in the league.
Can you tell us something about Jackie Robinson that no one else might be able to say?
Well, there are a lot of things I could tell you, and I'm sure some of them that you've heard before, others you haven't. But one thing that you may not know is that he was born in Georgia, at a little town called Cairo. But then his mother moved him to California, and he went to school out there, and was a good all-around athlete in high school and in college. He played basketball. That was his best sport, probably. He's an All-American football player. He ran in track, and he was good at table tennis, which you would call ping pong, probably. He was good at that, and really, of the major sports, baseball was his fourth best. So he was better in the other sports than he was baseball, but he was still one of the greatest baseball players of all time.
How did Jackie Robinson respond to the insults, and why were the insults being thrown at him and his teammates?
Well, a lot of that was because of the social conditions at the time. It was a new thing, and he responded very well because it could have become a bad situation if he had lost his temper. He kept his cool and just kept playing ball and let his ball playing speak for him. There were times when someone called him names, or fans in the stands yelled things at him, but he just ignored it and kept playing good ball. And he won all of his teammates over. His teammates rallied around him and supported him and stuck up for him, and he was just a good team player and made the team better, and everyone realized that, and they all wanted to win the championship. And so the first year that he was there, they did win the pennant and the National League.
What were the Negro Leagues like, and do they have any teams in Atlanta, and where do they play?
Well, yes, they play just like the teams today. If you go and see a Major League Baseball game today, it'll be much the same quality of play. They did have a team in Atlanta. The name of the team was the Atlanta Black Crackers. And they played in the stadium where the Atlanta Crackers, which was a white team, played. It was named Ponce de Leon Park. And other times they played at the high school field down there at Booker T. Washington High School. But they had players then just as good as the ones we have today. If you go to the Braves and watch them play, it was just like watching the teams back then. People like Haywood there playing. And, you know, Hank Aaron started out in the Negro Leagues. He's the all-time home run king in Atlanta, and is in the Hall of Fame, one of the best ball players ever. But his first year was in the Negro Leagues with a team called the Indianapolis Clowns. And he was just a teenager at that time. And he went from there, the Braves signed him, and then he went on to the records that he achieved now. And he's still with the Braves as an official capacity now. So that's how good the players were. People like a Willie Mays and and Hank Aaron and Ernie Banks and players like that played there. And if you go out and watch baseball today, it's just as good.
Hey Grandpa, what's your favorite personal Jackie Robinson story?
Well, I've known a lot of players that played with him, and I think a man who was his roommate after Jackie was signed, they had an all-star team going down to Venezuela and South America to play. And this man's name was Gene Benson, and he played with Jackie down there and was his roommate. And he said that he and Jackie stayed up late at nights talking about how important what he was going to be doing was, and talking about he was good enough to play, not to be worried, because if he could hit the pitching that he faced in the Negro Leagues when he was with the Kansas City Monarchs, that he could hit the Major League pitching. And they talked that way many nights on that tour about the importance and building up Jackie's confidence that he was good enough. Because when he first signed with that team, this man in this picture here named Willie Wells was the best shortstop in the league. And he's a veteran, but they picked Jackie instead, and they wondered why. Well, the reason was because the Branch Rickey, the owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers, had just signed him to play with the Dodgers in the major leagues. And he wanted him on that team playing with this all-star team to get the experience that he needed. But the fact that his roommates sat up with him late at night encouraging him and giving him a lot of pointers, I think that's my favorite story, because I knew the man, Gene Benson, who was his roommate.
Out of the 7 books that you've written, which one out of all of them contains the most about Jackie Robinson?
Well, all 7 of them contain something about it, but probably the one that has the most in it would be the one that's called the Biographical Encyclopedia of the Negro Leagues, because it has all the players featured, and Jackie's one of the most prominent ones. But the others also have stories about him. The players that I wrote about, like the man named Monty Irvin, tells a lot about Jackie, and another about the first baseman who was called the Black Lou Gehrig, has a lot about Jackie in it. And there's a juvenile book that's about the Negro Leagues that has some, and all of them have something about Jackie, because he's such an important character in baseball, and the fact that he got his beginnings in the Negro Leagues is very important, because that was sort of his proving ground. He proved himself there. Had he not had that background, he may not have been selected to make that change to the major leagues. And he had to have some place to learn and to prove himself, and that's where it was in the Negro Leagues.
Very interesting. Thank you, Grandpa, for taking time to give us so much interesting information about Jackie Robinson.
It'll be fine. There we go.
Thank you for watching this special edition of AHA with Graham Riley. If you want to know more about Jackie Robinson or any of my grandfather's books, just visit blackbaseball.com. That's blackbaseball.com. See you next time.